How's it everyone, this is Local, and in today's video we're going to be looking at some of your POBs for the BV build. If you're not playing this build, you might still be able to learn a few things, but in this yoinked format from Subtractim, we're going to be looking at POBs. Now, if you want a more personalized analysis of your POB, hop in the Discord, it'll be linked in the description. And there is a channel there for this build. And there's a ton of helpful people, loads and loads of helpful people who've been looking at each other's builds, fixing them. But let's have a look. Main things that we're going to be looking at are damage, EHP, things like your spell suppression, and then we're going to look at gear and seeing how we can optimize some of this. So first thing that we're noticing, spell suppression is not capped. I think the reason this person thinks they're capped is because of Revenge of the Hunted. 10% chance to suppress spell damage while on full life. A lot of you probably have fallen into this trap. If we hit this button, are you always at full life? Yeah, then we're at 100% spell suppression, but we're not always at 100% life. So one thing you need to check out for, spell suppression chance, make sure that is at 100%. There's a couple of weird little straggly points here. I guess there's 5% spell suppression here. However, I think what I would rather do instead of grabbing that and heading down to this side of the tree, these flask duration nodes are really good, but I would say spell suppression slightly more important. I would drop that, pick up quick step, and then we are actually spell suppression capped. So number one, check your spell suppression. Make sure you are actually 100% spell suppression capped while not at full life. The rest of this looks pretty good to me. You've gone for the physical mastery and force shaper along with the life mastery skills cost 30% of mana cost. This alacrity, by the way, if you're playing this build, you can get an honored tattoo of the hunter, allocate this alacrity node and get +1 level of your BV very, very easily. It costs about 45 chaos last time I checked. +1 level of your BV, plenty of damage. The rest of this tree looks pretty good. The only thing, like I said, I wouldn't have pathed down here so early, and instead of grabbing the straggler point for suppression, rather grab quick step. So next thing we want to look at is damage. The DPS on this is actually looking really solid. This is with 10 withered stacks on Guardian Pinnacle, sitting at about 86k, but maybe we can improve it slightly. So one of the first things, if you've gone for a Blade Vortex instead of a level 21 Blade Vortex, that's up to you. Personally, I'm running a level 21 Blade Vortex and just dropping Blade Vortex. Having a level 21, you can see adds a nice chunk of damage. Goes from, let's say, 3.8 to 4.2. It's about, excuse my maths, about 10% more damage just from that. Then you do lose the Blade Vortex, which is a bit sad. But another thing we can do is just leveling up these gems. Each of these levels all add up to a little bit. I assume this was done after you did your GCP recipe, but getting these leveled up, adding quality on these, you can see the damage goes up a fair amount. And then if you slap on a level 21 Blade Vortex instead of a Blade Vortex, damage is looking even better. A level 21 Blade Vortex is about 10 chaos. I think I bought one for 7 chaos. So this is another way to get more damage. Another thing we could do to just show how much this honored tattoo of the hunter adds is we can go +1 to level of all dexterity skill gems. You can see this, you can check the poison DPS goes from 99 to 110, total DPS 4.6 to 5.1. So that's a big recommendation on this. The rest of the skills looking pretty good. Divine Blessing, you could get this up to 20% quality, adds a little bit of damage. The rest of the gems look fine. We can have a quick look at the items. So you've decided to go for Cold Iron Point instead of Obliteration. Maybe you had a bossing setup, maybe you're doing some bossing. If you're mapping, Obliteration is just way better for clear. One thing you should check your implicit on your Obliteration. You can get a little bit more damage, like 1% more damage just by using a Blessed Orb on this implicit. Another thing, Obliteration, very, very cheap. So don't go out and buy a bad one. When I say bad, you can see gain 30% of physical damage as extra chaos damage. Look how much this average damage goes up when we buy a good one. It's a fairly significant damage increase. Poison DPS goes from minus 14 to minus 9. So it's 5% more damage, probably even more, just by having a well-rolled obliteration. So chuck one of these in. Let's see, DPS is going to drop, but this is more of the mapping version. Dawnbreaker, nice, I like it. Something you can do to get a bit of free damage is to quality up your Mings with Noxious Catalysts. These are also very cheap. I haven't checked, but I think they're one chaos each. So we can just check this out. Ming's Heart, let's see. Let's add in a different Ming's Heart. So Ming's Heart, you have 54%, I believe, 54%. Let's just add on some catalysts. Noxious Catalyst, you can see the difference is an increase of 5% poison DPS and 5% increased total damage per poison just by adding on quality. That's like 20 chaos. So small little things like this add up. Just getting that Mings with quality and then this Tattooed of the Hunter. Those all look good. Life Flask, Instant Recovery, Corrupted Blood Immunity, great. And then we have Evasion Rating, Suffix, Reduced Effective Curse, Increased Armor, and additional elemental resistances during effect. This all looks excellent. This is actually a really good POB. A lot of just fine-tuning here. Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. You could then instead use this as a different suffix and then take the Ralakesh. Moving while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage, so that would give you a free suffix on your Life Flask. Maybe like Freeze Immunity or something like that if you're not using Soul of the Brine King. If you upgrade your Soul of the Brine King by completing the Waterways map with a Divine Vessel, you can get Freeze Immunity, 100% chance to avoid being frozen. So this all looks really solid. Good job. Let's have a look at another one. This one says, help, I keep dying. Alrighty, your Fizz Max hit. Let's turn on these flasks actually. We're Pathfinders, so we can turn it up. Fizz Max hit really low. Evasion pretty low. Your armor very low. You are currently level 84, so we do need to get some levels on you. Let's just check out the gear. Obliteration, decently rolled. You could, like I said, push that up to a 40%. I don't think it'll be very expensive. Leper's Arms, solid little shield. I do prefer the Dawnbreaker plus the Granite Flask and running Determination. That does feel better to me. Helmet, this helmet is really bad. You can get probably a much better helmet for 5 Chaos Orbs with life, resistances, and everything. So for someone at this stage, this looks like an early-ish build, level 84. I'd recommend hopping over to the trade site. So if you want a better helmet at this stage in the league, you can really just, let's see, like 80 life, suppression, let's just say like 8%, and resistance 40% for a helmet. Let's see. 1C, even if it's corrupted, we can turn off corrupted. By the way, there was that little thing floating at the top of my screen. I only noticed it now, but it's gone. Check this out. 80 life, spell suppression, 40 lightning resistance, and an open suffix. So you could get up to 80 resistance. So if you're running around with really bad gear like that and you're not playing SF, check the trade site. Something else I would recommend if you have gear like that is get the Blade Vortex Enchant. So even 20%, this is the Merciless Lab Enchant. You can see 2 chaos, 6, 7 chaos. This is a very nice quality of life enchant. For the 30% one, let's see, 10 chaos, 20 chaos. What you can do, if you have a helmet like this, that's just super bad, grab one of these bases, hit it with an Essence of Greed, just for a bit of life, and then bench on a suffix or something like that. This is a very easy fix. Dendrobate is not 6 linked. It's not even 5 linked. That's a huge damage loss. So yeah, you're on a 4 link. Another thing, chance to poison. This is a wasted gem because Dendrobate has Socketed gems are supported by level 10 chance to poison. So you're actually on a 3 link at this point at level 84. That's why this damage is looking so bad. So let's say you instead chuck on Deadly Ailments. We can make it level 18, Deadly Ailments, and get a 5 link. So even if a 6 link's a bit expensive, rather get a 5 link. Void Manipulation, and now you're actually on a 5 link instead of a 3 link, and your damage is looking a hell of a lot better. So just check those sockets. Again, you can get a level 21 Blade Vortex for about 10c, level 21, 20 actually. So you can see that pushes the poison DPS from 30k up to 37k, so about a 20% increase. That's fine. Let's see the rest of the gear. These gloves, again, not great. Also, benching on armor, I'm not totally sure why you would take that over life. So if we instead look at these shark skin gloves and we change this to plus 65 to maximum life, you'll see this will improve the EHP quite a bit. We go from 18.4 up to 19.3. So just little small optimizations like that. These boots, again, really bad, no life. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just showing you that you can get much better stuff for really, really quite cheap. So we can go for life, let's just say 60 life, movement speed, even 25, resistance, make it 40, and let's say spell suppression. So let's say 10%. Let's check what we have. 9, 10 chaos. 10 chaos orbs, you can get a nice little pair of boots like this. So a week into League, these kind of actually fairly significant upgrades compared to at least what you currently have are not that expensive. They're really not too expensive to just get better stuff. And then you're going to find a lot more life on your gear. Carnage Heart, this doesn't really make sense. This is actually a POB that people went through in the Discord, but I felt like it was a really good one to go over because there are a few things that really could change to make it a little bit better. This doesn't really do a whole lot. I can see why you're using it though, because of the attributes and elemental resistances. It's not completely rubbish, but if you instead get an amulet like a Agate amulet with level of all physical skill gems, slot that in. Let's just see. I don't know why the damage is going up. I suspect it has something to do with the leech. Damage while leeching. Are you set to leeching? It's a bit of a mystery. Let me know. I think I'm missing something very obvious here. I don't know why this would add more damage than a +1, but an amulet like this, really cheap on the trade site. Another thing, don't forget your anoint. So early on, I do recommend exceptional performance. However, later on, I'm thinking I used overcharge. I feel like this is a very nice anoint because it grants frenzy and endurance and power charges on kill. And if you're mapping, you're getting a lot of those. For bossing, not as useful. So we can slap that on, and then you could bench on, you know, strength and dexterity, or strength and intelligence. Much better. Ring, this ring, again, no life, no resistances, bit of strength, should very easily be able to improve it. Mings, nice, again, add some quality to that. This belt, again, 11 life. You have very little flat maximum life on your gear, so just look to upgrade all of these. Let's just check out your flasks. Instant recovery on low life, great. Bleed immunity. Your granite flask, nice. Your jade flask, reduce effect of shock. I would rather get evasion rating as a suffix. You have a second life flask. This is, I would say, definitely wasted. Don't need that. You can instead use a silver flask for onslaught to go faster, or you can use a jade flask, or I mean a ruby flask. Anything else would be better. Quicksilver flask, again, these rolls are really not optimal. So what I would probably do instead is grab a Dawnbreaker. A Dawnbreaker like this will cost you 1 Chaos Orb. 1 Chaos Orb, slap that in. Dawnbreaker, our EHP is going to go up a lot, and then we can slap in a utility flask, maybe a ruby flask, and we can do the resistance. I love this. My character currently has negative resistances while not under the effects of my ruby flask and I don't die. I don't die because we are a Pathfinder. So this adds a lot, but again, just finding a whole lot of flat life on your gear. Let's just say you can find another 250 to maximum life by actually rolling your gear a little bit better. You can see this pushes us up from 3.6, so 3k to 3.6, and you do have enough slots open on your gear that you could do this. So try do that. The rest of it does need a bit of work. Let's just have a look at your skill gems. Again, you're on a 5 link. Get these leveled up. Determination, purity of elements. So with this flask, the ruby flask, you can probably drop your purity of elements and instead slap on a grace. So let's do that rather. And EHP continues to go up, up. Malevolence, divine blessing, inspiration, great. So another thing I should mention with the flask is just getting that enchant on it. So for 5 instilling orbs and 5 glass blowers baubles, you can get reuse at end of flask effect, and then you shouldn't ever have to worry about the uptime on that flask, which is why I run around with uncapped resistances. These look okay. Flame Dash, Shield Charge, Despair, Arcanist Brand, Temp Chains. One thing, let's just have a quick look at this tree. Tree is looking pretty good. The dual curse, I know I put this in the POB. I'm actually not using, well, I am now, but I only just started using dual curse. I feel like these points could be better used for mapping. If you're doing bossing, this is great, but if you're just doing mapping, these 5 points can instead be used over here. So we can see the difference between that. So we have poison DPS 31.9, and that's 100% uptime, 33.3. So this is only if you have both your curses up. So I would rather put those points there. Atrophy is fine. This looks fine. Let's just check your spell suppression. Same trap the last person fell into, where you're not actually spell suppression capped. So what you could do is, let's say, grab these 3 points, and then grab quick step, and you are spell suppression capped. Again, this is improving your overall survivability. Determination, level that up. You do not meet the strength requirement, but you've got a lot of improvements on this. So next up on the chopping block, let's have a look. DPS looking pretty decent for a low budget. Let's see, spell suppression not capped. Revenge of the Hunted, I should have made a bigger point to point this out. Don't get baited by Revenge of the Hunted. If you're not on full life, you're not suppression capped. So again, grab these quick step points. I would rather, instead of grabbing these 2 physical and chaos damage, just grab that. And now you're actually spell suppression capped. Your life looks pretty good. Evasion rating pretty good. Armor is a bit low though. And resistances, I assume you're using the bismuth flask. So you are actually resistance capped with your bismuth up. One thing I would change, let's just see. Instant recovery, hinder, maybe get that corrupted blood immunity. Immunity to freeze chill. I would rather go with the upgraded Brine King than this suffix because it so drastically reduces your duration on your quartz flask. For mapping, it shouldn't be an issue, but instead of this quartz flask and this suffix, you're getting phasing over here. Your spell suppression is capped. So what you could do instead is use a Jade flask. So we go Jade, and let's make that evasion rating suffix something like this. Pop that in, and your evasion rating, wow, looking really good now. 85% chance to evade. Sin's Rebirth, I don't think I would use this for mapping and a Jade flask. Both of these give you evasion rating, but it is a bit of a damage loss to drop this, but I will show you a little trick we can do to not use Sin's Rebirth. So instead I would go for a granite flask with armor as a suffix. Let's just get some of this mitigation up in there, and don't forget the reuse at end of effect. Reuse at the end of this flask effect, and maybe something like increased charge recovery or increased duration. Let's slap this in here instead. Just having a look at your EHP. Looking a lot better now. 20,000 armor, 40,000 evasion rating. That's looking really good. Damage, we'll have a quick squiz at how to improve, but let's quickly have a look at some of your gear. You have your Defiance banner up. You have Determination. I assume you're using Grace. Good. If you are still using, let's say, Determination and Purity of Elements, try to get those resistances capped with a flask or some gear, and then swap the Purity of Elements for Grace, and it should improve your survivability quite a bit. Blade Vortex level 20. These, I assume you just you did the GCP recipe and need to level these up. But yep, again, adding in quality, all of these add up, and we can push the DPS higher that way. Levelance, yeah, you're on a 6 link. All of this looks really good. Molten Shell, I would probably swap out for a Mortal Core, especially if on your amulet, I would swap this Exceptional Performance for Overcharged instead. Then you're generating some charges at least. The rest of the gear, Obliteration, Leper's Arms. Again, if you want to be super tanky, you go for that Dawnbreaker. Slap in the Dawnbreaker. This is, again, about one chaos, I think, for this. Pop in the Dawnbreaker, EHP goes up even more. And then instead of a Bismuth, you can use a Ruby Flask. So we go Ruby with Resistance as a suffix and maybe maximum charges. So we can slap in, instead of Bismuth, we go Ruby, and EHP looking really nice. Can turn off that Immortal Call just for a more realistic thing, but that's looking pretty good to me. Gear Obliteration, nice. Something you can get is an Obliteration with Unholy Might on kill, or chance to gain Unholy Might. So this is the same effect that you get from Sin's Rebirth, which is fine for mapping. So we can just check out your DPS, 59k, add to build. Let's just, oh wait, let's just tweak these numbers. 40%, save, pop this in, 59k. Let's see with our Unholy Might. Oh, it goes up quite a lot, you can see. So that's a very nice implicit on your Obliteration. Dawnbreaker, very nice. Leper's Arms are going to increase, it's going to increase your total damage, but not really, it's not going to be noticeable for mapping. So Dawnbreaker, I just feel so good. Ming's Heart, again, add some quality on this. You can get like an extra 10% damage. Another thing you can do is get the Chaos damage over time implicit from Red Influence. Your Mask, looking okay. Again, you could get a way better helmet than this. Get the one with the correct enchant, the Blade Vortex Duration enchant, and then just use a couple of essences on it and you'll have something better than this. The increased mana reservation is nice because it lets you fit in that Defiance banner. The rest of the floss are looking good. If we do want to push up your damage more, something we could do is get that +2 Dendrobate. Now, I made my own +2 Dendrobate, but let's just see, what does a Dendrobate with, let's check, level AoE implicit, or we could say level duration implicit. We can go count 1. So what does a Dendrobate with one of these corruptions cost? 1 divine, 1 divine, 1 divine, 1 divine. So what you can do is you can either go out and buy 30 Dendrobates and try and corrupt this yourself, or you can go out and buy one of these. Then you go to the crafting bench, has 4 sockets, and then has 4 linked sockets. That'll cost 10 jewelers and 10 Val Orbs, and then to link it will be 5 fusings and 5 Val Orbs. And then a little bit expensive, but what you can do then is use some of these. So Tainted Jewelers, let's see what these cost. 2C, super cheap. So Tainted Jeweler's Orb will either add or remove a socket from a corrupted item. So let's say you do the bench to get 4 sockets, then on average you're going to have to use 4 of these to get up to 6 sockets. So that's a whole 8 Chaos Orbs. Now you have a +2 that is 6 socketed. Now the expensive thing is using these Tainted Orbs of Fusing. These are going to work similarly, where it's either going to add or remove a link. So on average, you'll have to use 4. So you use the bench to get a 4 link, and then what you do is use a Tainted Fusing. If it goes down to 3 links, you use the bench to go up to 4 links again, and then use it, you get 5 links, and then you go for that 6 links. It's a 25% chance. So on average, you're going to use 4 of these. That's about a divine. So the thing I'm trying to get here is you can get a 6 link plus 2 Dendrobate for 2 divines instead of 5 divines. These people are probably printing currency right now because they know this, but you just get that plus 2 and then link it yourself, and then you can use the crafting bench to recolor it. All you need to do is something like has at least 1 green socket. Don't use tainted chromes for this, but yeah, plus 2 Dendrobate. Let's just check it out. Dendrobate, 2 divines, or let's say worst case scenario, 3 divines. Level of duration gems, slap this in. You can see this adding a ton of damage for 2 divines, 2 or 3 divines. Let's just pop this in. Dendrobate, cool. All right, a lot more damage. Again, the honor tattoo of the hunter, I assume you're using that. So what we can do is +1 to level of all dexterity skill gems. Adds a lot more damage. Your DPS is looking very juicy now. And I think that's about it. Another thing we need to check, I may have missed this in other builds in the previous ones, but with your Dendrobate, you want to make sure you have that 300 dexterity breakpoint. Otherwise, you're missing out on this 88 or 75 to 100% increased damage with poison. So I think maybe one of the other builds was missing that, but for your own build, make sure you're hitting that 300 dexterity. And if you want to use obliteration, you need 188 int. So you will be hitting this, the second one, the poison duration. But this Dendrobate, you can see it's about 20% more damage. So good stuff all around on this one. Let's have a look at one more. So this person says they have 17 divines. What do they buy? Help. So let's just check. Spell suppression, capped. Nice, good job. Damage looking alright-ish. EHP looking alright-ish. Unreserved mana, you could probably slot in your Defiance banner. Evasion rating and armor, a bit low, but let's actually turn on these flasks. Looking a bit better, but your evasion rating and armor still, I would say, is a bit low. If you have 17 divines, you can do some really big stuff with this. Let's just have a look at your gear. Obliteration, again, try and get a well-rolled one. You can see just having this thing rolled well adds a nice chunk of damage. So let's pop that in. Obliteration, well rolled, more damage. Lapis Arms, that's fine. Again, with your armor being fairly low, I really, Dawnbreaker just is so much better to me. It's so much better. You can get one like this, one Chaos Orb, really, 1 Chaos Orb, and you can see how much this adds. Got a nice Fizz Max hit improvement. And then let's see, your helmet, actually pretty nice, but it doesn't have the enchant, so I've gone over that. Dendrobate, again, the +2. Get that +2 for 3 divines, 2 to 3 divines. You have 17. You can go make one yourself. So +2 Dendrobate. Gloves are pretty good. You have nice implicits on these. Dex strength, cold res. Your resistances are capped except for chaos res a little bit under, but that's okay. Let's check out these boots. These could do with a bit of work. They do have the right implicits, which is nice. Well, one of the implicits is correct. The other one should be max fire res, especially if you're using Dawnbreaker. But these could be a lot better with life. And you have a wasted implicit. You have a wasted crafted mod, rather, with this fire resistance. Your amulet, you don't have a +1. So, again, amulet, let's actually just whip up your amulet. And for example, let's just change this into a +1, 2 level of all physical skill gems. Ton of damage from that +1. And also ton of damage from just grabbing this honored tattoo of the hunter. So +1 to level of all dexterity skill gems. I will leave a link in the description for that honored tattoo. So this, again, adds a lot of damage. The rest of it's looking okay. This jewel's fine. This ring's fine. Ming's heart, add quality to your Mings. Now let's have a quick look at your gems. These all look good. Level 20. Again, if you want to get that level 21 and drop the Vile Blade Vortex, 10C for a level 21 Blade Vortex adds a nice bit of damage. Let's just see your auras, Purity of Elements, Determination, and Herald of Agony. At this point, you're level 95. I would drop this Purity of Elements. Instead, pop in a Grace. You can see there our evasion rating is going up nicely. And then you do actually have enough mana now to fit in a Defiance banner. Actually, do you? No, you don't. Oh yeah, you don't have the implicits on the helmet. So if you want to fit in your Defiance banner, you're going to need to find at least 5% reduced mana reservation somewhere. You can get it on your helmet, but yeah, once you get that, it does add a little bit to your EHP, as you can see over here when I click it on and off. So rather use Grace, and as you can see with your flasks up, even without Purity Elements, you are res capped. Just having a look at your flasks. Divine Life Flasks, this one is correct. This one is correct. This one is completely useless. You can get that immunity freeze chill from your Soul of the Brine King upgrade. Remember, Waterways with a Divine Life Flask. You can get that there. This is completely wasted. What again I would do now that you're using Grace is get something like this. Evasion rating during effect and then max charges or something like that. Pop that in. You can see now your evasion rating is looking really good. 32k with this up. Life loss good. Resistance during effect, yeah. Armor during effect. Sulfur flask, that's a big nope. And again, you had a doubled suffix on your flask. So this one had immunity to freeze chill, and your other life flask that I just removed had immunity to freeze chill. Rather chuck in the ruby flask. So ruby, chuck this in. So because your quicksilver flask has elemental resistance as a suffix, this one you can get movement speed or something like that as a suffix, and you know, max charges or increased duration. Pop this in, drop this. So now this is looking better. Movement speed, armor during effect, resistance, corrupted blood immunity, and evasion rating. And this is all looking a lot better. The rest of your skills, let's just see. This looks okay. Shield charge, faster attacks. You can level this up now. I assume you didn't have enough strength before, but now you can level that up. You're leveling up a Blade Vortex. You have your Immortal Call, cast when damage taken. Cool. And you do have overcharge on your amulet, so you actually are getting these endurance charges. But without the Immortal Call up, yep, that's fine. I probably wouldn't link these all together. If you are using your Whispers of Doom, rather use your Temp Chains with Despair and Arcanist Brand. So something like that. And this is all looking a lot better. Your DPS is very nice. Your life's good. Your EHP is good. With your Immortal Call up, it's even better. So this build, I would give after these changes, like a 9 out of 10. Add the quality, get the +1. Few little tweaks here and there. I don't think we've looked at your tree, but your tree is mostly looking good. One thing I would grab is Careful Conservationist. Grab that. What would I drop for that? I know it seems crazy for dropping Whispers of Doom. If you're mainly mapping, if you've got all your Void Stones at this point, which I assume you do, I would drop Whispers of Doom and then just run a single curse, just run Despair. So we drop that. I know it looks like, oh no, my damage has dropped so much, but it's actually okay. Let's just drop this Temp Chains and then grab Careful Conservationist. You can then pop this in, Wasting. Instead, that also gives you your Chaos Res cap. And because you're sitting at 104, I think mostly this is okay. One other thing that would be nice is to instead do this pathing. Grab Wind Dancer now that you have very good evasion rating, and path like this. You can do that instead. It does take up a couple more points, but we can drop something like this, and then you're sitting at level 96. I think this all looks pretty good. Something you could do instead is drop these 4 points. So let's just check the damage. 84k goes down to 71k, but we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. We can also then drop this point over here. Oh no, then you don't have enough ES, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grab this. You were at 84k. Drop a bit of damage, and then you could maybe grab these. And I think you are level 95. So grab those. Allows you to pick up Wind Dancer for a bit more, and you can maybe grab a Jewel Socket or something like that, or all right, this looks good. So hopefully this was helpful. Another video I do want to make is something like a waypoint. Someone had this idea having like stepping stones. So at step 1, make sure you get your Dendrobate and then swap over to Eldritch Battery. And then once you've got that, then you do this. Then you get your 4-link, then you get your 5-link, just so that people have very clear goals of what they need to do next on the build. I will try and at least do a write-up of that, and then once I've completed it, do a video version of that. If you do want to see that, let me know. Hopefully this was helpful. Even if you're not playing BV, let me know if you watched this and learned some stuff. But have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe, catch you in the next video, and bye-bye.
Exile, you're making me nervous.